What's going on, Buff Nation? Welcome back to another video. This insider just dropped an absolute nugget that's got my ears perked up a little bit because I've talked about this a plethora of times, and not only will it confirm a recruiting situation, but a future of Coach Prime in Colorado. We got to talk about it. This show is brought to you by BetUS. Let's dive right into it. But of course, we got to roll the intro, baby. It's not my intro. Mr. Duke, the Scoop, Phil Duke here on Locked On Buffs. Phenomenal channel. Both channels are great content creators. Phil Duke is part of On3, very well connected with recruiting, interviews these players, coaches, etc., and had a look into the NIL situation, which we have talked about on this show a plethora of times, where my situation is like kind of the Buffs have to finagle their way through situations, just given what we've heard in the sense of financial situations from recruiting. NIL a little bit different. We talked a few months ago about a few collectives getting together, trying to ramp up some money. That seems to have been rocking and rolling, given this quote here. He goes, what I learned about Colorado this weekend is that they're not going to take a backseat to anybody in NIL. Like, they got it, bro. Colorado's really set up. It's a power keg up there. And this, again, is absolutely massive, and we're seeing the momentum happen. Football fields and W's is honestly the biggest thing. And now that you have that, my always big question mark is, like, are they going to be able to compete with the likes of Georgia and Alabama? Now, he's not saying that they're up in that echelon of, again, Ohio State, who dropped $20 million, but you don't have to be, right? Ohio State dropped $20 million. You see the talent they have on the football field. They ain't got a coach that can get it done. I am not a believer in Ryan Day. I've been very vocal about that. Almost fell to a Nebraska team. It was a very good, solid Nebraska team. But if we're looking at the level and the talent that is on both teams and the money that was spent, it's a wide margin. Nebraska's a well-coached team, well-disciplined team, and you saw that on Saturday, giving the Ohio State Buckeyes an absolute fit and a little bit of a scare come Saturday with last pick to close the deal for them. But this, to me, really got my ears perked up. And again, even Stephen A. Smith brought this up again about Coach Prime should be at A&M, which they're not going anywhere from Elko right now, so not quite sure why he mentioned that. He said Alabama should have went to Sanders instead of DeBoer. Again, that isn't something that's in the works by any means, so why bring that up? Then he brought up FSU, that he'd be a great opportunity. In my opinion, it's always been the number one school that would be a legitimate threat to take Coach Prime from there. Now, some people have claimed that because they turned their heads, turned a blind eye when he had an opportunity, he may not go there. Look, I'm not really getting into any of those things or why he should. I think he's in a fantastic spot at Boulder. I said that before. You have an opportunity to dominate the Big 12. With it now being a 12-team playoff, you can solidify yourself year in and year out. And the ACC isn't really anything crazy either, but you are a legitimate contender. And with the NIL, it allows for this level playing field to happen. Also, the quality of talent has risen drastically. With these camps and these things, the 3 and 4 and 5 stars, the gap is razor thin. But the price is not as razor thin. That 4 or 5 and 3 stars are absolutely massive on how much value you bring to the table when you're having those NIL conversations. So if you're able to find a few diamonds in the rough, 3 and 4 stars, and not have to pay for that 5-star, but get the same kind of production value, simply because an On3 and a 247, these recruiting evaluators don't give them the same stars, you could really get on a nice Hummer. And then, again, coaching, preparation, building these guys up is that next step. And obviously, Colorado has done a fantastic job of putting coaches around them, allowing them to elevate their players to that next level. So hearing this, again, from somebody who is extremely well connected in this program, looks at all these programs and how they're functioning and able to see, like, okay, here's what they got, here's what they're able to provide, is massive. Now, what I've always approached on is the fact that brand deals, bigger brand deals, right, is what Colorado can bring. So they still can bring that, but now it sounds like there's also a substantial base that's a big factor as well, too, which I've been saying with Juju Lewis, right? If that is a factor, it sounds like with this comment, hey, there isn't a whether or not they can compete with USC. So now I'm looking at it going, this is a no-brainer, right? If outside of Lincoln Riley having 2 to 3 Heisman quarterbacks, which is huge, Coach Prime has one in the running at the moment, but 3-1 is still a big difference. But just look at the quality of team that is being put together, but is being put on the field between both teams. And again, Lincoln Riley's been there for it's just his third year, and he's gone nothing but backwards and is on the hot seat. I don't know. We'll see how it all shapes out. it is interesting, but I loved hearing this from him. Also, this show is brought to you by BetUS, and I wanted to bring this up because we talked about this earlier on in the season. The odds to win the comp for the Big 12 championship for the Buffs was plus 2,200 or 22,000. It was insane. Basically, zero chance. Nada. No way this happens. Now, you head on over to BetUS.com and use the code YouTube150. Get back 150% on your first deposit, then 125 on your next two, up to $2,000. You can bet on the Buffs at plus 600. I love these odds. The only thing that concerns me now, the knowledge that we have, is that they don't control their destiny to get to the Big 12 championship. If I knew they had a seat at the Big 12 championship, I would hammer home on this. Now, obviously, that's the reason for the odds, right? Because you can't guarantee these things. But even if I knew that, hey, they had to do X, Y, and Z, and they had an automatic spot, and they control their destiny, I'd feel a lot more comfortable. Now, the odds might be not as great as this either, so you got to kind of take it with what you will. Personally, I think them getting into the Big 12 is going to be tough, just given what the teams ahead of them. They don't have to face anybody to cause this to get a little wobbly. Anything can happen. It's college football. But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. They could still find themselves, if they dominate these next few games, find themselves peeking in. And then I saw this, which is I just find hilarious, right? The cornerback trio of Travis Hunter, DJ McKinney, and Preston Hodge is as good as it gets in college football. Duh, Dalton. We've been saying this. This isn't a surprise. Coach Prime told you before week 1, we have an NFL roster, and all of these guys will be in the NFL next year. Colton Hood also chews balling out, but just these 3 young men alone, he goes, we can play man-to-man on anybody. And they have been. And we said they would. And here they are. Welcome to the show 10 weeks in, Dalton. You're a little late to the party, okay? We done told you what was going to happen. So I love that they're starting to take notice, starting to take place. Nobody's really running their mouths anymore. And there's nothing to run your mouth about because they're out there just doing it on the football field. That's the most important place to do it on. So hope you guys enjoyed that little update. Again, I thought that was very interesting. Love those comments again on Locked On Buffs. I want to give them a shout out. Phenomenal channel. Those guys all do great work. So be sure to check out the full interview. Hearing that, though, I think is promising, again, that this recruiting cycle for 2025, we've been feeling the momentum. We've been hearing about it. We're reading about it. We're seeing it happen live. That was a question mark I had. Now, that doesn't seem to be a question mark. What's left? Start closing some deals. Could be a wild couple of weeks here, and an extremely wild December 4th, I believe, on a Wednesday. We rock and roll out there. I can promise you that. Hope you guys enjoy the content. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Brought to you by BetUS, of course. Peace and love, baby.